All right, so we are on to day 151 of going through my old journal, and the quote for today says, "Most people live and die with their music still unplayed. They never dare to try." Apply the quote to your life right now and write your music. Is your music still unplayed? So if you're following along, just take a minute to think about how you would respond to this. And let's see what I wrote. Okay, so I said, so is my music still unplayed? I said yes and no. I feel like there have been a lot of instances where I've taken risks and dove right into things. Many times this has led to good experiences. Sometimes things ended up not so good. But I don't think I have any major regrets for jumping into things. And I don't know if this is exactly what the question was asking. For some reason, it sounds like I just took it as to like, take risks and don't live and die, with things undone, Um, so I said, I don't have major regrets for jumping into things, but it seems like in more recent years, I've gotten myself committed to things that ended up leading to a lot of stress and anxiety. And I felt like I was trapped doing things that I didn't want to do. Because of this, I've been more hesitant to jump into things. So yeah, I guess that maybe it's talking about kind of like that fear of missing out, and I don't know, to some extent. Well, let me just finish. I said, now I tend to wait and sit on ideas a bit longer since I know myself well enough to know that my hyper focus and interested phase rarely lasts. So if I get myself committed to something long term, I know that it's likely to cause anxiety. So yeah, I've talked about this quite a bit before, where I'll be super interested in something, I'll do all this research, and I would think like, okay, well, I'm really interested in this. I think I want to do this. I'm going to find some way to kind of commit to it. And, they they talk about, well, if you commit to something, then you're more likely to follow through with it. So I'm torn between like that, okay, I want to commit to something to keep myself involved and following through with it. And, in the past, it seems like when I would do that, it worked out well, because even if I wasn't like really into something, I would keep going with it even after I'd lost the interest because I had committed to something. But now I just feel like I just want to make my life easier. I don't want to have that stress of like feeling committed. For instance, when I was younger, my parents, well, I thought I wanted to play music, and actually my parents kind of like pushed me to do music lessons. Like my mom signed me and my sister up for piano lessons, and then I took fiddle lessons, and then I played the saxophone at school. And I never was really like, even though I committed to it, I didn't like invest as much as I should have to be successful at it. So like I knew I had my piano lesson coming up. So like the day of or the night before, I would practice, what I needed to just get through the lesson. But I would always be like stressed about it and like feeling like, well, I didn't practice enough because I didn't. And I never really got that great at playing the piano. But I had committed to taking these lessons. My parents were paying for them. And so I kept going. And on the one hand, I'm kind of glad I did, because even though I didn't put as much into learning the stuff as I should have, I can still play the piano. Like I can pick it up and play it. So I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I didn't just like quit. But I don't know, as I've gotten older and I've kind of jumped into things, it hasn't just been like, oh, me quitting piano lessons or me quitting a sport or me, whatever. It's more like me getting involved in things where there's other people involved, and there's just so much more pressure, because if I don't do my part, then it's not just me not doing good at the lessons, it's like other people like being let down by me. And that just gives me like a lot of stress and anxiety. So I've kind of pulled back from those sorts of things. what else did I say? Said, so even though I have a ton of ideas for things I'd like to try, I feel like it's better to just sit on them for a bit and make plans to try them when I'm sure I'm ready. And so I'm torn on that too, because a lot of people are like, and with myself included, if I don't just jump into it, I'll spend so much time like getting over prepared. And then you learn a lot more like jumping into things and doing things hands on. But then it's also a lot more stressful that way. And so, yeah, I'm torn between like being prepared enough to know that I can do something and then, you know, just getting myself over prepared and like never jumping into it and learning things. So I don't know if this makes sense to anyone but me, but so I said, and also I make sure there's an escape route for me if things fall through. So yeah, like one of the things I'm thinking in particular was I joined the Master Gardeners, and you know, you volunteer with this group, and then it just got so stressful for me, like juggling that with school and then feeling like I have to go to these volunteer events, and then you know, letting people down if I don't, you know, show up and do all that. And I did, and then but I didn't have a good like escape route for some of these things. Like I could have been like less involved than I was, but I got really involved like right up front, and then, you know, it was just kind of hard to like pull back once I got involved. And so yeah, so in the future I was like, okay, I'm not gonna like jump in that hardcore, you know, like maybe just on the sidelines, do the basic volunteer stuff and don't like overextend myself. But anyway, I don't know if that really goes along with that, but also this kind of goes back to some of the stuff I've been talking about the past couple of days, is like, you know, I wonder how much people regret like not doing things in their life and wishing that like they would have done this versus that, you know, when it may just be better to just be happy with how you did live your life and just enjoy like what you did do, and not feel like, oh, like that fear of missing out, like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like, I think if you're a normal person and you do get interested in things and you have these goals and you think that you can do it and follow through, then good. But if you're someone like me who like interests change like all the time, like I would try to find a way to work with that. Like if you know that you're interested in the short run, find some short run way to get into that, and then also know that you have an out, so that if you jump onto something else, then you don't feel trapped. But then you also get to experience things and not feel like, because that's what I'm glad that I did jump into a lot of things, because I do feel like I've experienced a lot of things. And I don't feel like regrets for doing that really, but I don't know. I guess I'm just more realistic and more practical as I get older. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like uninspire people from doing like what they want to do, but also I think people shouldn't feel like regret if they didn't do certain things. Because I don't think it's good to just always be feeling like, oh, there was all this better stuff I could have done with my life, when you can just like be happy with what your life is. But I don't know. Anyway, maybe I'm just in a mood today. But anyway, that's day 151. I'll be back tomorrow with day 152.